the loyal guardian of the Biker Brotherhood. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city streets. The rumble of engines echoed through the narrow alleyway as a group of leather-clad bikers parked their gleaming motorcycles in formation. They were known as the Iron Hounds, a brotherhood bonded by the road, loyalty, and an unshakable code of honor. But among them was a member unlike any other, Rex, their loyal German shepherd. Rex wasn't just a dog, he was a symbol of their unity. The bikers had found him as a stray years ago during a ride through a deserted stretch of highway. Malnourished and wounded, Rex had approached them cautiously, drawn to their campfire. Despite his condition, his eyes held a fierce determination. The leader of the Iron Hounds, Jack, saw something special in the dog, a resilience that mirrored their own. The Brotherhood took Rex in, nursed him back to health, and trained him to be a protector. Over time, he became more than just their mascot, he was their guardian angel. Rex wore a custom-made vest with the Iron Hound's emblem, his presence as vital as the roar of their engines. He rode in the sidecar of Jack's bike, his ears flapping in the wind, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon for danger. One fateful night, Rex proved his worth in a way none of them would ever forget. The Iron Hounds were riding through an industrial district when they were ambushed by a rival gang looking to settle an old score. Outnumbered, the bikers found themselves in a tense standoff. As the situation escalated, Rex leaped from the sidecar, positioning himself between the two groups. His low growl echoed in the alley, and his presence was commanding. The rival gang hesitated, unnerved by the dog's fearless demeanor. Rex didn't attack, he didn't need to. His unwavering loyalty to the Iron Hounds and his sheer bravery were enough to make the rivals think twice. The standoff ended without bloodshed, and the Iron Hounds knew they owed their safety to their canine companion. From that day forward, Rex was celebrated as the heart of the Brotherhood. Wherever the Iron Hounds went, he was by their side, a silent but powerful reminder of the loyalty that bound them together. Now, as the bikers stood in the alley, their arms crossed and their faces stern, Rex lay calmly at the forefront, his ears perked and his eyes vigilant. To outsiders, he was just a dog. But to the Iron Hounds, he was their loyal guardian, their brother, and their hero. As the days turned into months, Rex's legend among the Iron Hounds continued to grow. Stories of his bravery spread, not just among their own ranks but across other motorcycle clubs. He became a symbol of loyalty and strength, a protector who had earned the respect of even the toughest bikers on the road. The bond between Rex and Jack deepened with every ride. Jack often spoke to Rex as though he were a human, sharing his thoughts and worries during late-night campfires. "You're the glue holding us together, buddy," Jack would say, scratching behind Rex's ears. Rex would wag his tail, as if he understood every word. One chilly autumn evening, the Iron Hounds found themselves riding through a small, quiet town nestled in the mountains. The streets were eerily silent, and the townsfolk seemed wary of outsiders. Jack had planned a brief stop to refuel and rest, but something about the atmosphere put everyone on edge. As the bikers parked their motorcycles near an old diner, Rex immediately became alert. His ears perked up, and he began sniffing the air. Jack noticed the change in Rex's behavior and called the group to attention. "What's up with Rex?" one of the bikers asked, glancing around nervously. "Something's not right," Jack said, trusting Rex's instincts implicitly. "Stay sharp." As the group began unloading their gear, a piercing scream shattered the silence. Without hesitation, Rex bolted toward the source of the sound, his paws kicking up dirt as he ran. The bikers followed close behind, their boots thudding against the pavement. They found Rex standing at the entrance of an old warehouse, growling fiercely. Inside, a young girl was being cornered by two men. The bikers didn't need to ask questions. Jack and the others stepped in, their presence enough to send the men fleeing into the night. The girl, no older than 10, clung to Rex, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered, burying her face in his fur. Jack knelt beside her. "You're safe now. What's your name?" "Emily," she said between sobs. She explained that she had been walking home when the men grabbed her. The bikers escorted Emily back to her home, where her grateful parents couldn't thank them enough. "If it wasn't for your dog," her father began, but Jack shook his head. "Rex isn't just a dog," Jack said with a smile. His family. The next morning, as the Iron Hounds prepared to leave town, the townsfolk gathered to see them off. Emily ran up to Rex, hugging him tightly one last time. "You're my hero," she said, slipping a small bracelet onto his vest. As the group rode off into the sunrise, Rex sat proudly in Jack's sidecar, the bracelet glinting in the light. The Iron Hounds knew their journey would lead them to new roads and new challenges, but one thing was certain: with Rex by their side, they could face anything. Rex wasn't just their guardian, he was a symbol of hope, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond of brotherhood. And wherever their wheels took them, his story would live on, inspiring those who heard it to stand strong, protect their own, and never underestimate the heart of a hero. As the Iron Hounds continued their journey across the vast stretches of winding roads and bustling cities, the events in the small mountain town lingered in their minds. Rex had once again proven his worth, but something about Emily's teary hug and the bracelet on his vest felt different. It was as though the encounter had left a deeper mark on them all. Weeks passed, and the Brotherhood rode into a larger city known for its chaotic streets and underground rivalries. It was a place where rules were rewritten daily and loyalty was scarce, except among the Iron Hounds. They made their camp on the outskirts, their presence quickly noticed by the local gangs who eyed them with suspicion. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the city skyline, Jack received an unexpected visitor at the camp. A man in his late 40s, rugged and weathered, approached with a cautious air. He carried an envelope and a nervous expression. "You're Jack, right?" "Leader of the Iron Hounds," the man asked. Jack stepped forward, his crew gathering behind him like a wall of leather and steel. "Who's asking?" The man held up the envelope. "Name's Pete. I work for someone who's heard about you, and your dog. They need your help." Jack raised an eyebrow, his instincts flaring. He took the envelope, opened it, and found a photo of a woman and a young boy, their faces filled with fear. Alongside the photo was a note: "They took my family. I'll pay anything to get them back." Pete explained that the family had been taken by a powerful gang running illegal operations in the city. The police wouldn't intervene, and the man was desperate. Jack looked at Rex, who was sitting alert by his side, and then at his crew. "This isn't our fight," one of the bikers muttered. "No," Jack said, his voice steady. "But we don't turn our backs on people who need us." That night, the Iron Hounds prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. Rex seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. As Jack packed his GEA, the plan was simple but risky: infiltrate the gang's hideout, locate the family, and get them out. The bikers knew they were walking into enemy territory, but they also knew they had an edge. Rex. When they reached the hideout, a dilapidated warehouse on the city's edge, Rex led the way, his nose guiding them through the maze of corridors. The bikers moved silently, their years of experience making them a well-oiled machine. In the heart of the warehouse, they found the family locked in a room, guarded by two armed men. Jack signaled to Rex, who crept forward like a shadow. Before the guards could react, Rex lunged, disarming one and pinning him to the ground. The other guard froze, realizing he was outmatched. The bikers freed the family and escorted them out, but their escape wasn't unnoticed. Alarms blared, and the gang swarmed the warehouse. A fierce fight erupted, the bikers holding their ground as Rex darted through the chaos, protecting his crew and the family. By the time the dust settled, the Iron Hounds stood victorious. The family was safe, and the gang was left broken, their grip on the city shattered. As the bikers rode out of the city at dawn, Rex sat in the sidecar, his vest now adorned with Emily's bracelet and a new patch, a symbol of their victory. Jack glanced down at him and smiled. "You're not just our guardian, Rex," he said. "You're the reason we keep fighting for what's right." And so, the Iron Hounds rode on, their bond stronger than ever, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But little did they know, their next journey would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The Iron Hounds rode on, the adrenaline of their victory still fresh, but an air of unease lingered. Jack knew better than to think they'd escaped the city unscathed. They had just crippled one of the most notorious gangs in the region. There would be consequences. A week later, the repercussions began to surface. As they cruised along a deserted stretch of highway under a fiery sunset, a sleek black SUV pulled alongside them. The windows were tinted, the driver invisible, but it was clear they were being followed. Jack motioned for the crew to slow down, pulling off to the side of the road. The SUV did the same, parking a safe distance away. The bikers formed a protective semicircle, with Rex standing at the center, his fur bristling as he let out a low growl. The car door opened, and a well-dressed man stepped out, his suit crisp and his expression calm but menacing. He adjusted his cufflinks and approached. "Gentlemen," the man said, his voice smooth. "And your impressive companion." He nodded at Rex, who bared his teeth. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, crossing his arms. The man smirked. "Call me Vincent. Let's just say I represent interests you've inconvenienced. What you did back there, dismantling that gang, it was bold. Admirable, even. But it upset the balance." Jack's jaw tightened. "They took a family. We did what needed to be done." Vincent chuckled. "And in doing so, you've made powerful enemies. I'm here to offer you a way out." The bikers exchanged wary glances. Jack took a step forward. "What kind of way out?" "Simple," Vincent replied, his tone as cold as steel. "Walk away. Stop interfering in matters that don't concern you, and you'll be left alone. Refuse, and, well, let's just say things could get messy." Jack's crew tensed, their hands instinctively moving toward their weapons. But Jack held up a hand to stop them. "We don't take orders from anyone," Jack said, his voice steady. "And we sure as hell don't back down from doing the right thing." Vincent's smile faded. He nodded slowly, almost as if he'd expected the response. "Very well," he said. "But remember, you were warned." With that, he returned to the SUV and drove off, leaving the bikers in tense silence. That night, as they camped under the stars, Jack gathered his crew around the fire. "Vincent's not bluffing," he said. "We've stirred up something bigger than we realized." "Let them come," one of the bikers growled. "We've faced worse." Jack shook his head. "This isn't just about us anymore. Rex, the families we've helped, they're counting on us to stand strong. We need to be ready for whatever's coming." Rex, lying by Jack's side, lifted his head as if he understood the weight of the moment. His amber eyes locked onto Jack's, unwavering and determined. In the days that followed, the Iron Hounds prepared. They fortified their camp, established allies in nearby towns, and trained harder than ever. Rex was at the center of it all, his instincts sharper than ever. The storm Vincent promised wasn't far off. And when it came, the Iron Hounds would be ready. With their guardian by the Iron Hounds rode into the next chapter of their lives with steely resolve, knowing full well that Vincent's warning was no idle threat. Every mile they traveled seemed heavier, every town they passed felt colder, as though a shadow was creeping closer with each passing day. Rex, ever vigilant, began to exhibit signs of heightened awareness. He would growl at the faintest sound, his ears twitching at noises the others couldn't hear. Jack trusted Rex's instincts more than ever. "He knows something's coming," Jack muttered to his second-in-command, Mason, as they set up camp one evening. Their suspicions were confirmed a week later when they encountered the first sign of retaliation. Riding through a quiet desert highway, they noticed debris scattered across the road. Broken glass, twisted metal, clearly a trap. Jack raised his hand, signaling the crew to stop. "Everyone stay sharp," he said, scanning the area. Rex sniffed the air and let out a sharp bark, his body tense. Suddenly, the sound of engines roared in the distance. From over the ridge, a convoy of bikes and black SUVs appeared, barreling toward them in a cloud of dust. The Iron Hounds quickly formed a defensive line, their bikes creating a barrier as they prepared for a fight. The convoy screeched to a halt, and out stepped Vincent, flanked by a dozen heavily armed men. His smirk was as cold as ever. "You had your chance to walk away, Jack," Vincent said, his voice carrying over the wind. "Now, we settle this." Jack stepped forward, his crew behind him. "We don't bow to bullies. If you're here to fight, you'll regret it." Vincent's men spread out, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. "Oh, I don't intend to fight," Vincent said, nodding toward the SUVs. The doors opened, and more men stepped out, pulling two hostages into view. Gasps rippled through the Iron Hounds as they recognized the captives, Emily's parents. "This is the price of your interference," Vincent said coldly. But it doesn't have to end this way. Hand over your dog, he's more valuable than you know, and I'll let them go. The demand hit Jack like a thunderbolt. Hand over Rex. Their brother, their guardian? The answer was clear. Over my dead body, Jack growled. Before Vincent could respond, Rex launched into action. With a blur of fur and muscle, he darted toward the SUVs, weaving through the chaos as Vincent's men scrambled to react. Jack and the Ironhounds followed suit, charging into the fray with weapons drawn at their side. They weren't just a brotherhood, they were a force to be reckoned with. The desert erupted into a cacophony of shouts, gunfire, and the roar of engines. Rex reached the hostages first, taking down the guards with precision and speed. His teeth clamped onto one man's arm, forcing him to release Emily's father, while his powerful body slammed another to the ground. Jack and the others fought fiercely, using their bikes as shields and their unity as their greatest weapon. The Ironhounds worked like a well-oiled machine, their trust in each other unshakable. Vincent, realizing he was losing control, barked orders for his men to retreat. But before he could escape, Rex stood in his path, growling low and deep. Vincent froze, his usual smirk replaced by fear. Jack approached, his gun trained on Vincent. "You come after us again, and you won't get another warning," Jack said. "This ends now." Vincent nodded stiffly, retreating with his men as the dust settled. The Ironhounds freed Emily's parents and regrouped. Though battered and bruised, they stood victorious once again. Jack knelt beside Rex, who was panting but unhurt. "You saved us all, buddy," he said, ruffling the dog's fur. As the sun set over the desert, the Ironhounds rode on, knowing the battle was far from over. Vincent's retreat felt temporary, his words still hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. But they weren't afraid. With Rex by their side, the Ironhounds were ready to face whatever came next. As the Ironhounds rolled out of the desert, the tension among them was palpable. Vincent's retreat might have seemed like a victory, but Jack knew it was only the beginning. Men like Vincent didn't accept defeat, they regrouped, rearmed, and struck back harder. For the next few days, the crew rode in shifts, keeping their eyes peeled for any sign of pursuit. Rex was restless, his nose constantly twitching, his ears swiveling toward every sound. It was clear that danger was still lurking just out of sight. One evening, the Ironhounds reached an abandoned truck stop on the edge of a desolate highway. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. Jack decided they'd camp there for the night, using the derelict buildings as cover. As the bikers set up, Mason approached Jack, his face grim. "We need a plan, Jack. Vincent's not going to stop. We can't keep running forever." Jack nodded, his gaze fixed on Rex, who was patrolling the perimeter. "I know. But we're not just running, we're buying time. Rex's instincts have kept us alive so far, and they'll lead us where we need to go." Mason frowned. "What do you mean?" Jack hesitated. "There's something about all this that doesn't add up. Vincent wanted Rex for a reason, something bigger than just revenge. We need to figure out why." Later that night, as the bikers gathered around a small fire, Jack pulled out the bracelet Emily had given Rex. It glinted in the firelight, a reminder of why they fought. "We're not just a club," Jack said, addressing his crew. "We're a family. And families protect each other, no matter what." The group murmured their agreement, their resolve strengthening. Suddenly, Rex growled, his body rigid as he stared into the darkness beyond the truck stop. The bikers froze, their hands moving to their weapons. A faint sound reached their ears, the low hum of approaching engines. "They've found us," Mason said, his voice low. The Ironhounds sprang into action, extinguishing the fire and positioning their bikes for cover. Rex took point, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. Moments later, a convoy of black SUVs and motorcycles emerged from the darkness, their headlights cutting through the night. Vincent wasn't with them this time, but his men were armed to the teeth. A voice called out from the lead SUV. "You've got something we want. Hand over the dog, and we'll let you go." Jack stepped forward, his shotgun resting on his shoulder. "You're not taking him," he said firmly. The men laughed, their weapons raised. "Then I guess this is where it ends for you." Before the words fully left his mouth, Rex launched himself into action. The bikers followed, unleashing a coordinated assault that turned the truck stop into a battlefield. The fight was brutal and chaotic, but the Iron Hounds held their ground. Rex was a blur of speed and precision, taking down attackers with an almost supernatural skill. The bond between him and the crew was unbreakable. They fought as one, a force that couldn't be stopped. By the time the dust settled, Vincent's men were either incapacitated or retreating into the night. The Iron Hounds stood victorious once again, but their celebration was short-lived. As Jack surveyed the aftermath, he found a small device on one of the attackers, a tracker. "They're not just hunting us," Jack realized. "They're tracking us. This is bigger than Vincent. Someone else is pulling the strings." Rex barked sharply, his nose pointing toward the horizon. Jack knelt beside him, staring into the distance. "What is it, boy?" The dog whined softly, his body tense. It was clear he wanted them to follow. Jack stood, his jaw set. "Pack up. We're moving out. Rex knows where we need to go." The Iron Hounds revved their engines, the roar echoing across the empty highway as they followed Rex into the unknown. Whatever lay ahead, they knew one thing for certain: this fight was far from over, and the truth about Rex and the shadowy forces hunting him was waiting just beyond the horizon.